the most expensive tiaras of the British royal family. They are not just jewellery, they are crowns without kingdoms, forged in platinum, dripping in history, carrying the weight of empires, wars, love affairs, and secrets that most of the world will never know. Some were gifts from Maharajas, some survived Nazi bombs, some were hidden in biscuit tins during wartime, and one was worn by a 19-year-old girl on the most watched morning in television history. Today, we're going inside the vaults of the British royal family to reveal the 8 most expensive tiaras ever worn by the crown, and the extraordinary untold stories locked inside every stone. The Cartier Halo Tiara. April 29th, 2011. 2 billion people watching. A young woman steps out of a Rolls-Royce at Westminster Abbey, and in that single second, every camera on Earth locks onto one thing. Not the dress, not the flowers, not the crowd. The tiara. The Cartier Halo was commissioned in 1936 by the Duke of York as a birthday gift for his wife, the future Queen Mother. Cartier built it with 739 brilliant cut diamonds and 149 baton diamonds, all set in platinum, forming a scrolling cascade of light that frames the face like something between a crown and a halo. The design is deliberately understated. No towering arches, no coloured stones, just white, cold, absolute brilliance. When the Queen Mother died in 2002, Princess Margaret's estate went to auction. But this tiara never made it to the sale room. The royal family bought it back quietly, without announcement. Its value to the crown was considered beyond any number an auctioneer could call. Then a 29-year-old commoner named Catherine Middleton wore it down the aisle, and in one morning, a piece of 1930s, Cartier became the most recognised tiara on the planet. The woman who once wore it as a birthday gift could never have imagined that 75 years later, it would be watched by more human eyes than any tiara in history. Its value? $1.7 million. But no amount of money could buy what happened that morning. Queen Mary Bandeau Tiara. Here is something the headlines never told you about the day Meghan Markle married Prince Harry. The tiara she wore had been locked in a royal vault for decades. Nobody expected it to be chosen, and the story of why it was, and what almost stopped it, is far more dramatic than the wedding itself. The Queen Mary Bandeau tiara was created in 1932, built around a diamond brooch that had already been in existence since 1893. Making parts of this piece over 130 years old, its design is Art Deco to its core, a flat horizontal band of interlaced diamond ovals with razor-sharp geometric precision, designed to sit flush across the brow rather than arch upward. In a century of towering royal tiaras, this one deliberately refused to perform. Queen Mary, consort to King George V, and one of the most obsessive jewellery collectors in royal history, kept this piece close. She was famously known to admire jewellery on other people so openly and persistently that they felt socially obligated to gift it to her. This tiara she acquired on her own terms. On May 19th, 2018, Meghan wore it at Windsor Castle before 30 million viewers in the UK alone. Hair swept back in a low bun so the clean horizontal line of the tiara could speak without competition. What most people never knew was the reported tension behind the scenes over which tiara would be selected for that day. The vault held options, negotiations happened, and the piece that ultimately won was one that had not been worn publicly in years. A sleeping tiara woken for one of the most watched weddings of the 21st century. $2.8 million of history, chosen after a conversation nobody recorded. The Burmese Ruby Tiara. In 1947, the people of Burma gave a gift to a young princess about to become a bride. They gave her 96 rubies, not as decoration, as armour. According to Burmese tradition, rubies carry the power to ward off illness and evil. And the number 96 was precise and deliberate, corresponding exactly to the 96 illnesses catalogued in traditional Burmese medicine. Every stone was intended as a shield against a specific form of suffering. It was one of the most culturally loaded gifts ever presented to British royalty, and for 26 years, those rubies sat waiting. In 1973, Queen Elizabeth II commissioned Garrard, the crown jeweller, to finally set them. The result was the Burmese Ruby Tiara, 96 rubies arranged within rose formations alongside 1,365 diamonds in a design that fused the Tudor rose, England's oldest heraldic symbol, with the eastern stones of a Southeast Asian tradition. It is the only piece in the royal collection that simultaneously belongs to two entirely different worlds of meaning. The Queen wore it throughout her reign, most frequently at state banquets. Those 96 rubies cannot be replaced, replicated, or sourced again. The gift, the intention, the specific cultural moment that created them, all of it is gone. What remains is the tiara, $6.2 million of diamonds and rubies, and the belief, embedded in every stone, that a queen could be kept safe. The York Diamond Tiara. This tiara was built for a fairy tale. What it witnessed instead was something far more complicated, and it has never been fully explained since. In 1986, Sarah Ferguson married Prince Andrew, Duke of York, at Westminster Abbey. Garrard crafted this tiara as a wedding gift, a sweeping design of diamonds in white gold and platinum, built around a central cluster of exceptional brilliance with floral and scroll detailing that placed it firmly in the tradition of the great bridal tiaras of the 20th century. 6 years later, the marriage collapsed publicly and spectacularly. Photographs emerged. Tabloids ran for weeks. By 1996, the divorce was final, and in the brutal arithmetic of royal separation, almost everything gets catalogued, returned, or reassigned. The tiara stayed, not locked away, not auctioned, not returned. It remained in Sarah Ferguson's possession, and has surfaced at select occasions in the years since, worn by a woman who is no longer royal in title but has never quite left the orbit of the crown. No official explanation has ever been given for why this particular piece was kept, while so much else was surrendered. $6.2 million of diamonds, sitting in a room somewhere, carrying a story that the palace has never chosen to finish telling. The Oriental Circlet Tiara. Prince Albert designed this tiara himself in 1853, and for over a century what he built was considered one of the most visually extraordinary pieces in the royal collection. Then someone destroyed it, and what replaced it has divided jewellery historians ever since. Albert drew his inspiration not from European court tradition, but from the Mughal aesthetic, the architectural language of Indian palaces, with their pointed arches and flowing symmetry. The result was a circlet of gold and silver set with opals and diamonds, the opals glowing with that interior fire unique to the stone, shifting between green, gold, and deep blue depending on the light. It was unlike anything else worn by a British monarch. Victoria adored it. She wore it repeatedly. Portraits confirm it as one of her defining pieces. When Queen Alexandra, wife of Edward VII, inherited access to the collection, she had every opal removed and replaced with rubies. Her reasoning: opals were considered unlucky. The practical logic of superstition erased the vision of one of the most design-literate men ever to sit adjacent to the British throne. Jewellery historians have mourned it for generations. What sits in the royal collection today is beautiful. Rubies and diamonds catching light in a way that commands attention at any state occasion. But beneath every ruby, where an opal once held its shifting colour, there is a small act of erasure that cannot be undone, $7.2 million, and not a single stone is the one Albert chose. Queen Mary Fringe Tiara. On the morning of November 20th, 1947, with millions preparing to watch the most anticipated royal wedding since the coronation, this tiara snapped in half. The Queen Mary Fringe Tiara was originally constructed from a diamond necklace belonging to Queen Victoria, reborn in 1919 into a cascade of slender diamond spikes that hang from a diamond base like drawn curtains of frozen light. The fringe design, vertical, dramatic, unapologetically bold, was a signature of Edwardian jewellery at its most theatrical. When it was fitted onto Princess Elizabeth on the morning of her wedding, the frame cracked under tension. In a palace already operating under extraordinary pressure, a royal jeweller was immediately placed under police escort and rushed to Buckingham Palace to repair it. While the bride waited, the abbey filled, and the world tuned in. The repair was completed in time. Elizabeth wore it down the aisle. Nobody in that crowd of thousands knew anything had gone wrong. The tiara was later loaned to Princess Anne for her own wedding in 1973, a second bridal chapter for a piece that had already survived one crisis. It lives now as proof that even the most precious objects in the world are not immune to the pressure of an impossible morning. $9 million, fixed in under an hour, worn without a single visible seam of what it had been through. The Delhi Durbar Tiara. In December 1911, 100,000 people assembled on a plain outside Delhi. King George V sat on a throne. Queen Mary sat beside him, and what she wore on her head that day was not brought from England. It was built specifically for that moment, for that audience, for that declaration of imperial power at its absolute peak. The Delhi Durbar Tiara was commissioned in 1911 by Garrard, crafted in gold and silver with emeralds and diamonds arranged into lotus flower formations, a direct reference to the sacred flower of India, built into a tiara made for a British queen. The central emerald drop is of exceptional quality and depth. The entire piece is a calculated act of visual diplomacy, absorbing the aesthetic language of a subcontinent while placing it on the head of the woman who, in the eyes of the empire, ruled it. Queen Mary wore it at the Durbar itself, the last time a reigning British monarch would ever set foot on Indian soil in that capacity. It was a singular historical moment that would never be repeated, and this tiara was present for all of it. No other piece in the royal collection was built for a moment so specific, so geopolitically charged, and so permanently closed to history. $10.5 million, the price of a tiara that watched an empire believe for one last afternoon that it would last forever. The Greville Emerald Kokoshnik Tiara. She was never a princess, she was never a duchess. She held no title, sat on no throne, and carried no royal blood in her veins. And yet, Dame Margaret Greville, Scottish heiress, Edwardian socialite, and one of the most strategically brilliant women of her era, managed to place her name permanently inside the royal family. Not through marriage, not through politics, through jewellery. Dame Greville built her fortune, her social network, and her reputation with a precision that most politicians would envy. She hosted kings at her estate, entertained heads of state at her London townhouse, and collected jewellery the way generals collect intelligence, deliberately, aggressively, with an eye for what would matter later. The Kokoshnik Tiara was her masterpiece. Commissioned in the early 20th century and drawing on the Russian imperial aesthetic, the Kokoshnik being a traditional Russian folk headdress popularized in European royal circles through the influence of the Romanovs, it is a sweeping fan of diamonds set in platinum. Baguette and brilliant cut stones create a gradient that moves from dense, architectural weight at the base to something almost weightless at its peak. It is simultaneously a crown and a piece of architecture. When Dame Greville died in 1942, she left this tiara, along with the majority of her extraordinary collection, directly to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. It was the final move of a lifelong game, ensuring that her name, her taste, and her legacy would sit on the heads of queens long after she was gone. It worked. The Queen Mother wore it, cherished it, passed it forward. $12.4 million, built by a woman with no claim to a crown, worn by women who wore nothing else, and proof that in the world of royal jewellery, the most dangerous person in the room is sometimes the one without a title, who simply knows exactly what she wants and is patient enough to wait. 8 tiaras, 8 stories that the official portraits never explain and the palace press releases never touch. The vault does not give up its stories easily, but now you know what is inside.